So today we're going to try to tap a maple tree here at my house. This tree is about 9 inches in diameter, which is a little smaller than you usually want to start them off. You usually want to go at least 10 inches, if not 12, before you tap them. But we are not out for like a major syrup making endeavor here. We just want to see if we can get some sap and maybe make ourselves like a tablespoon of syrup. It's a good time of year because other than the anomaly this weekend, it's usually been below freezing at night and warmer during the day, which is what you want because you want that sap in the warm days flowing out to the tips of the branches, in the cold days coming back down here to the base of the tree. And we have a good indicator here of just there must be a nick or something at the top, maybe from a woodpecker, that the sap is starting to drip out from another place on the tree, so we know that that sap is flowing, and so it should be a good time to go ahead and tap. So we'll go ahead and show you the supplies that we have with us today. We have a bucket, just a 5-gallon bucket with a wire handle here. It has a lid, which we will make some use of today, but we don't have a fancy style that's going to poke through the bucket. We're just going to hang the bucket on and let it drip in. So we'll see how much the lid really comes in handy. We have our super fancy style here that was made out of a piece of pipe from my basement. So you can see it's just a piece of metal pipe I cut off on the end, and I made a little nick here in it so that our bucket will be able to hang right there onto the pipe. And this is how my family did it growing up. My dad just had a bunch of old pipe that he would cut like this and use to pound into the tree. These days he uses fancy store-bought styles, but I'm doing it the old school free way. So we'll see how that goes. Finally, we have our other supplies, are a drill. You might have seen one of these before. We have a 5/16 drill bit on, which is about just smaller than our style here. So we have marked our drill here today with tape to show where 2.5 inches is, 2.5 inches, so we know how deep we want to go in the tree and we can stop right when we hit that depth. We also have our handy hammer, so once we drill the hole, we'll go ahead and pound the style in with that. So we can go ahead and get started with the drilling. We want to be about chest height, and we want to pick the sunniest side of the tree. This tree is not getting a whole lot of sun in general, so I think the only sun it probably gets in the day is right now, and so this side is probably about as good as we're going to get. And we'll position the drill so that it's just angled slightly up so that we get a nice kind of downpour here of sap as it's coming out. So we'll go ahead and tap that. Our hole now, you can see the sap starting to drip from it, which is a good sign. Our kind of wood curlicues here that were coming out of that are nice and white and healthy. If they were dark brown or black, that would be a dead or unhealthy part of the tree, so that's a good sign. So our next step is going to be putting that style into the hole. So we're just going to line it up with our hole here as best we can. Try to keep that same angle. Make sure our notch here is on the top, and we'll start pounding it in. And you can see we're already starting to get a nice drip from our sap here, which is perfect. That's a pretty good pace drip, and about as good as you would expect. It doesn't get a lot stronger than that. But that would probably, if this kept dripping at that pace, we'd fill this 5-gallon bucket in a day and a half probably. So it's quite a bit of sap, really. And I think we're pretty sturdy here. I'm going to go a little bit more because if we had a full bucket hanging on this, it would need to be pretty strong. So I'll pound in a little more. So the grand finale, go ahead and hang our bucket here. And that sound is a really good sound. And what we can do at this point is, if we want, we could put the lid on a little bit to cover it up. But really the only reason you have to worry about a lid is if you don't want rainwater getting in there. And the only harm that rainwater is going to do is that it's just going to water down your sap, so you'll have to cook it down more. But it doesn't really hurt it at all. So we can leave it just like this if we want. And again, this is how we did it growing up. But now I think my dad has nice fancy buckets all with lids and the whole shebang. So there you have it. We've chopped our tree. We'll check our bucket a couple times a day and start collecting the sap, and then we can start cooking it down into syrup.